Hello all, how are you dear students? Okay, I understand you people are enjoying and watching the videos and also responding well in our online classes. Great going guys, keep it up. I'm so glad you people are liking the videos and are learning something from all the videos. Good job. Fine. So, we are with the fourth module. Okay, I was telling that this poem is a bit lengthy, and though we have completed everything about the poem, there are few things still need to be discussed which are important. That's why here I am, Vidya, with the fourth module on the poem. What is the name of the poem? The name of the poem is The Solitary Reaper. The Solitary Reaper, written by William Wordsworth. Okay, yes. So before we go ahead with the poem, with what I wanted to discuss in this particular module, I just wanted to ask you a few things. How is the whole poem? Did you try reading it once again? All the stanzas one after the other? What was the feeling? I know as a student of 8th grade, you may not, and that too, the world is such that maybe the other things may be more interesting than literature, but still there may be out of 41 student, okay, who was really affected or got influenced, got inspired from whatever is there in the video, right? Whatever is there in the poem. Okay, maybe I'm talking to that one person, right? So there are so many things, so many elements, so many themes in this one poem, right? So there is so much to learn in the poem. Wordsworth, when writes a poem, we all need to appreciate. There is an element of appreciation for sure, and also there is something that we feel mesmerized by the end of it. Okay, so those who really understood the meaning, the essence of what he wanted to convey, though it is very simple on the surface to understand that there is a girl, young girl who is working in the farm, cutting the crops and singing a song. That's all has happened. But few things in life, the smallest things in life, how they affect, okay, and how this particular man has actually wrote a beautiful poem conveying a greater meaning which is useful for the rest of our lives is something that is important. Okay, so coming back to the themes discussed in the poem, The Solitary Reaper, written by William Wordsworth. So the themes involved, as we discussed earlier, first thing, because on the surface note you can see there is appreciation of nature, okay, and you can also understand that how mankind or man is connected to nature. When you see the girl, she is in solitude, she is solitary and still doing her work. And throughout the poem, the man says that she is doing her work and she is so much involved in her work, that too which is related to the ground. Okay, that is our Mother Earth. So man is connected to the nature right from the beginning to the end. So this is one best part of the poem, that one strong theme that is there underlined in the Wordsworth, The Solitary Reaper, is man is connected to nature, and there is appreciation of beauty of nature, and at the same time you can also understand that art, especially art, whatever may be the kind of art, it is eternal. That is also there, you can see, right? You can also understand, because the girl's voice was there with him years after that, okay? So it's also kind of an art of a person, and it is more spiritual in terms of how he has seen that particular girl working in the farm and singing a melodious, melancholy strain, right? So though it was a sad song, she is nowhere mentioned that she is very sad, but it is only said that she is singing a sad song, right? So how it has influenced the man and how he carried these emotions throughout his life is also implied in this particular poem, right? So this is one important thing that we all should learn from the point of values. What is that one thing that we all need to learn? There is, man cannot go anywhere other than looking at nature. Nature is our best friend. Nature is our, our support system. Okay. Now in the times of corona, you understand this better. That nature is reviving, they all are telling, because of the less number of automobiles, no industries and all of that. We have polluted the nature to a great extent, which we shouldn't be doing, but now nature is taking its own action and reviving, right? So when nature, when the nature is supporting us so much, it's our duty to support nature, right? To give our own thing, to give back something to the nature. What all we can do? We can first respect this, that whatever trees are there, whatever plants are there, or the rivers, we shouldn't be polluting these things. From the child's point of view, you should be doing this. You should not waste water. You should not cut the trees. Okay. You cannot waste paper and use plastics all the time. Okay, our responsibility towards nature is also important. So we can learn that way, because when nature is giving us something to treasure for the entire life, is it not our responsibility and our duty to take care of this? Just like family, nature is also part of the family. Okay, so that's another theme implied in this particular poem. That's what we can, that's not a theme, but that's what we can learn and we should do as a value, okay, as a value basis. Fine. So now the one thing that I wanted to discuss, which is left in the poem, is the other day I gave you the homework of underlining the rhyming words. I hope you all have done the, you have underlined the rhyming words. In the first stanza, what are the rhyming words that we have? Lass in the second line, pass in the fourth line, right? Likewise, in stanza 2, all last words, 4 of them are rhyming words. Grain, strain, profound, sound. Likewise, even in the third stanza, shaunt, haunt, bands, sands, right? Then, in the fourth stanza, you can see herd, bird, okay? Seas, Hebrides, right? Likewise, in the next stanza, sings, things, flow, ago, lay, day, plain, again. Again, there are rhyming words. And in the next stanza, last but one stanza, okay, you have ending, bending. And in the last and final stanza, last 4 words of the sentence, of the line, okay, still, hill, bore, more. All these are rhyming words, okay. In your primary classes or in your 6th and 7th, you must have learnt about rhyme scheme, okay. What is a rhyme scheme? I am going to discuss this a little bit.
Rhyme scheme is the pattern in which the last words in the lines of poetry rhyme, okay, as you see in the slide. We record rhyming lines with letters. the first two lines that rhyme would be in A and the next would be in B, and so on. The rhyming lines do not have to come right after another. You understood this? The rhyming pattern that is created at the end of lines of poetry, as I told you earlier. Let us look at this small stanza now, which you all know. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece as white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. A, B, C, D. Okay. If the poem does not have a rhyme scheme, it is considered to be a free verse poem. So the poems which do not have these rhyming words, they are called as free verse poems. Okay? So the other poems which follow the rhyme scheme do have this pattern. Okay?
Good. Now that you understood what rhyme scheme is, that ABCD format, now let's go to the something else which is there important in this particular poem. Okay? So in my second module, the homework given to you was what is the homework given to you? Do you remember? I asked you to do some kind of work on figures of speech. Right? What are figures of speech? Figures of speech are extra or additional elements which we use in poetry to make the poem more beautiful or to make the poem more appealing and all of this. The poets have used all these things in the poems. There are many types of figures of speech. In this particular poem, the figures of speech that we have seen, what we have observed, I will let you know. Okay. So as you understand, the figures of speech add extra or additional meaning or additional beauty to the poem. So in the whole poem, whenever the lines you read, can you frame one image after the other? Do you get the picture in your mind? When you read the first stanza, especially, behind her single in the field, yon solitary reaper, Highland lass, reaping and singing by herself, stop here or gently pass. So the whole stanza you can see in your mind, right? There's a girl all alone working in the farm and reaping and also singing, right? You can get this picture. So this particular, when you are getting images in your mind one after the other by the writing of the poet, that particular art of doing it is called imagery. Okay? Imagery.
So it's called imagery. When you're getting pictures in your mind, let us see the definition. Descriptive writing that appeals to the senses. What are the senses? Sight, taste, touch, smell and hearing. Okay, when a writer writes so that you get that picture immediately in your mind, that particular figure of speech is called imagery. Think of this. When a writer uses imagery, the descriptive writing helps create a picture or image in our mind, okay, which we also can call it as mental image. Fine? Here is one example you can understand better. The bride skims like a bird on the foam of a stream. So in this, the girl can really relate with the pictures in her mind. There is a bride in the palanquin, and how is it going? How is it she moving like a bird? And that image is also there in her mind right now. So that's called imagery.
Good. You understood imagery, right? Now, in the second stanza, when you see the lines, Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. While explaining the poem, I told you there is a hyperbole. Okay, and also again in the lines, breaking the silence of seas among the farthest Hebrides, means you are telling something that is not possible, something that is unbelievable, right? Something you are adding more and more, exaggerating, right? So when you exaggerate things, it is called hyperbole.
Hyperbole or hyperbole, the right pronunciation. Hyperbole. A figure of speech that uses exaggeration to express strong emotion, to make a point, or to evoke humor. Okay, what is it? A figure of speech that uses exaggeration to express strong emotion, to make a point, or to evoke humor. An extravagant statement or figure of speech not intended to be taken literally. So this is hyperbole or hyperbole. Fine. So there is exaggeration. Here is an example for you. If someone says that I could sleep for a year, is it really possible? Do they really mean? It's not, right? They're just exaggerating. Such statements are called hyperbole or hyperbole. Another example, this book weighs a ton. So no book weighs a ton, right? It's just that you really feel that time, like in that moment, something like that. Okay, so such sentences or lines in the poetry are called hyperbole or hyperbole.
So you understood imagery, you understood what is the second one, hyperbole, and there is one more thing which you already know, assonance. What is assonance? The repetition of vowel sound in the stanzas. Okay, so in the first stanza, if you see, yawn is there, that O sound beyond, behold, O, right? Yawn. Again the same vowel sound is repeated. When such sounds are repeated, it's called assonance. Okay? Great.
So what is assonance? Assonance is the repetition of the same vowel sound within the words. You all know what are vowels, right? Vowels, we say A, E, I, O, U. So here are a few examples to understand. Spring is showery, flowery, bubbery. Okay? O, O, O. Without that bitter winter chill, I. Autumn is wheezy, sneezy, frenzy. Okay, so again, and few more. So there is a small stanza here. With the stanza, if you are able to understand exactly what assonance is, it's nothing but the repetition of the vowel sound. A, E, I, O, U, the vowels are there, right? Vowel, some people say, but it's actually vowel, right? The sportsman from Virginia, riding with his hounds, sounding a silver trumpet on the green resplendent grounds. Okay, I hope you all are able to make it now. That's what even Wordsworth used. Behold, yawn, like that. The poem also speaks about other figures of speech like metaphor and apostrophe. These two are also used by Wordsworth. So I was discussing this while I was explaining the poem. If you remember, metaphor, the poet compares the reaper with the nightingale and cuckoo bird respectively. He even claims that her song is more thrilling and more beautiful than those of those two birds, right? He was comparing, right? I'll discuss what is metaphor. And there's another figures of speech, that is apostrophe. What is this? You bring in a person who is not present at the moment is called apostrophe. The poem actually begins with that. The poem begins with an apostrophe. The apostrophe is a figure of speech in which an imaginary person or thing is addressed as if and capable of understanding at that moment. Okay, I hope you understood these now. To make it more clear, here is the definition for metaphor. A figure of speech stating that two things are similar. Example, the book was a passport or a passport to the adventure. You are what you eat. Here, her hair was silk. You're actually telling these words. It's not like simile, okay? You're not using the words as and like. You're directly comparing them. Fine? Here is the difference between the metaphor and simile for you. You can see simile. Mike is like a teddy bear. Okay? Mike is as soft as teddy bear. But if I have to use a metaphor there, I'll be saying Mike is a teddy bear. Directly I'm saying he's a teddy bear. I'm not using words like like or as, right? Another example, that boy is like a pig. Here, that boy is as messy as a pig, right?
That's about your figures of speech and rhyming scheme, and also a wonderful poem for all of you. I hope you all enjoyed this poem and have learned so much from William Wordsworth. So as homework, what I would like to give to my students, very simple, nothing to write here, nothing to discuss also. Just I want you to read few poems of William Wordsworth other than the one that we have, The Solitary Reaper. Any other poem you take and you try and understand the kind of poems that he writes, okay? And it's important that as per CBSE point of view, CBSE exam point of view, you remember the theme of the poem, you remember the rhyming scheme in the poem, and also figures of speech in the poem, and the summary of the poem. Okay, you can write your own summary in your own words. Whenever you get some time, try doing that. Okay, thank you, my dear students.